I probably was. I don't know how old I probably was 4, maybe 3 or 4, somewhere in there. And I came out midnight to go and use the bathroom. And when I came out of my bedroom, there was a clean shot view to the living room and the fireplace. And I saw a guy sitting in a rocking chair in front of the fireplace. And it was crazy because we didn't have a rocking chair, and we definitely didn't have a white guy in the living room. So it kind of stood out as being something that wasn't the norm. It was a Caucasian guy, white guy. He was in a chair, bald head. He had spectacles on, and he was whittling, and I could see him clear. I ran into my parents' room, tried to tell them. They ridiculed, laughed at me or whatever, and they came back and didn't see anything, of course. And I went back in the room. That was the first instance of me seeing something that wasn't there, the paranormal.
The armoire came from my mother. It was in my daughter's room. She used to feel like energy or negative energy coming out of the closet. I know it may sound funny, but it messed with her sleeping. She had a hard time sleeping at nighttime. She really didn't get too much rest. Also, too, it's been times when she would be in her room and she'd walk out of the room and come back and she thinks she would hear something that's in her room. Stuff would move or the closet door would open up. And at first, when you first hear it, it's kind of like, yeah, right, okay. But after a while, it's like, wait a minute, hold on. There's something to it. So finally, we wind up moving out of the house that we were in, and she wind up destroying the armoire. Well, actually, it destroyed itself because she took it down the stairs and it just broke apart. And that was the end of that.
I was around maybe 13 or somewhere in the teenage years or whatever, and we had a family function. And there were several people in the house, and the front doorbell rang. Funny thing is that we didn't have a front doorbell. There was no button there, and it was just the wires there. And when we went out, the wires were not connected. But everyone in the house heard the doorbell ring. When I went to the door, I felt the energy. So I knew it was those spirits. So they all looked and they said, I said, oh, he's here. And they started laughing, and of course the jokes started to flow, and everyone made jokes in light of me or whatever. And so I said, okay. I opened the door and I said, come on in. And I closed the door back. And I went and sat back down, and I took the jokes and I took all the laughing or whatever. Moments later, the kitchen cabinet opened up and it slammed shut, and there was no one in there. Everyone looked at each other as if they were taking a quick head count, and they realized that everyone that was in the house was in the room. So they all went to the kitchen, and it was funny for me because I knew what was going on, but I was thankful at that moment that the spirit seemed to have some connectedness to me to want to show them that I wasn't making it up, and that it did exist. That evening, enough happened whereas they then believed what I had been saying all my life.
We did live in the back house. My husband and I lived in the back house of that house. And one time I was sleeping, and it was like a dark shadow was kind of hovering over me. So I just kept praying and saying Jesus and cast it out.
The strangest encounter, that felt like the strangest at the time, but it went later on. I had one that was more intense, and it was more strange. There was a The only way I can explain it is like the symbol of the Batman. That, you know, the small little bat symbol that you see on the cartoons or whatever. It looked like that, and it was hovering in the corner at the foot of the bed. And I woke up like maybe 2 or 3 in the morning, and that thing was just sitting there. And immediately I looked around at the clocks, the windows. I looked for anything that could be like sending some type of light and creating an illusion. There was nothing there. So then I focused in on it, and I could actually see that there was a eye holes and a mouth hole in the face of this thing. And I stood there and just watched it, and then it started to hover and move left to right. After that, it came down as if it were trying to attack me. When it flew and it came down from the fixed position in the corner, or the levitating position in the corner, it opened up into a full, like, I would liken it to like the Grim Reaper's cape or something. So that small figure turned into a big, ominous black, you know, cape. And it tried to come down at me, and at that point you could see the grimace and the teeth and everything. And this thing was trying to actually come and get me. But it couldn't go any more than like 2 feet above me. Every time it would come down, it's like it crashed into something. And then it would go back in that corner and hover there, and it turned back into the little thing, and then it would open up, and it did that about 4 or 5 times. And then finally I just called out to Jesus and said, you know, Jesus, fix it, be a fence. And there was an intense blue light that hit the center of that thing's head, and then it just disappeared like a flash.